Okay. This is our last meeting of the fiscal year. We will probably not meet again until after the majority of the FY21 collections close. There may be a few still open because there are a few open until September and October, but the majority of the FY21 will have closed, and we will be starting FY22 by the time we meet again, because I usually do not have a meeting in the month of July, so that you guys can plan some time off if you have the opportunity to. We want to welcome Jen Villa, the new EMIS coordinator at Johnstown. And if she reaches out to any of you, please help her and open her with welcome arms, as she is coming with zero EMIS background and knowledge. So our agenda today, I'm going to just talk about each of the open periods, and then a little bit about full initialization, and then mention our okay, the end of year student collection, that's the first one to close. That and the SCR for FY21 both close on July 10th. Make sure you're on the power withdrawal, and for community schools that have a highest grade level, that you have done the power withdrawal on those students to indicate that this is the highest grade level in that particular school. If you don't, then all of those students will have to be reported next year with the appropriate withdrawal codes. And it will cause issues with your graduate reporting if you do not make sure that your seniors are all power withdrawn before the close of the collection. Complete all steps of the checklist. I can't stress that enough. I went over the checklist in general, but I didn't go into every single step in every single detail. There is a lot of information in that checklist, a lot of steps, a lot of things to do. Just because something isn't specifically stated doesn't mean that, oh, I don't have to worry about that anymore. Little things like making sure your LEP students are coded correctly, making sure that your homeless students are coded, your immigrant status, your military status, your Title I membership program codes, things that we don't always talk about on a regular basis. Those things all still need to be done. The other thing I want to remind you of is all of your IEP events need to be in. And a lot of people think, okay, I've checked my data, things are good. I checked my FTE reports, my adjustments are good. I know what all of my FTE adjustments are, everything's being funded. And 2 months go by and you don't even look at your FTE detail or adjustment report. And then next year you end up with a half dozen IEPs that never got reported. But if you looked at the adjustment report, most likely you would have seen those on the adjustment report saying the student doesn't have a current IEP on file, which would be a trigger. Hey, did this student have a new IEP? Do I need to get something in here? What's going on? What happens on the FTE is the FTE, the funding system does not immediately stop the weighted funding for students with disability when the IEP expires. They give you a 14-day grace period to get that event in. Not that the event can be dated 14 days later than the expiration, but it gives you 14 days to get that new event in without dropping any funding. After that 14 days, your funding's gone. Weighted funding stops until you get the new event in. Those messages will show up on the FTE adjustment. When those messages start showing up on the FTE adjustment, that's where you need to say to the special ed folks, hey, where are these IEP events? I need to get these events in because I have data that I'm not getting funding for because we don't have the new events. And that could hopefully eliminate a lot of the issues of needing to do NIEPs next year. And then when you report next year's IEPs using the 09 code saying, I wasn't out of compliance, I just failed to report the IEP last year. So please check your FTE adjustment for new errors for the IEP events that expired, but the new events have not been reported yet. Any questions about the end of year student collection? Make sure you've also done your student cross-reference collection. That one needs to be done frequently because every student needs to be reported to ODE within 30 days of admission and 30 days of withdrawal. So it is important that you are doing the cross-reference frequently. And another thing about the cross-reference is that it builds all of the reference tables, linking the EMIS ID with the SSID in the lookup tables and doing all of those cross-references. So it is very important that the SCR is done and that you are correcting any excluded records or any level 1 fatal errors that you may have on the student cross-reference. I don't remember what day the FY22 cross-reference collection opens, but the FY22 calendar collection will actually open on July 1st. But we're not going to talk about FY22 today. We're only going to talk about FY21. Staff course collection. This is a must. You must run C-term EMIS in update mode. It does multiple things. First, it makes sure that all of the courses that any student took during the year is pulled. Secondly, it populates all of the grade information. Third, it populates the credit information. So now that all of your schools are out, all of your grade cards are done, make sure that you have run C-term EMIS in update mode. I'll talk about this a little bit later, but it also populates the student course grade collection. Now there's some caveats on that one, and I will talk about that when I get to that collection. Districts still on classic USPS will be receiving emails from me when your payroll person closes payroll, and it will say, do not run the SIF collection, only run the data sources collection for the remainder of the FY21 staff course collection. What happens is when they are ready to close, they will run the program that extracts all of their staff EMIS reporting data. I will copy those files into the data collector, run a collection, and verify level 1 fatal errors and missing staff, and make sure that there are no new issues crop up and no fatal errors or missing staff that need to be corrected. Once those are corrected then, and everything looks good, then I will send that message, only do data sources. One other thing that I didn't mention in the messages I've sent so far is that you need to go ahead and follow through and submit the data. Because I don't typically submit the data. The one that I closed yesterday, I did submit because that EMIS coordinator had just submitted like a couple hours earlier. So after I did that collection, I did submit, but typically I don't submit your data. Are there any questions on the staff course collection? Okay. Final calendar collection. We have been sent lists from ODE of districts that have not submitted calendar and have not submitted staff course since sometime in April or May. I don't remember the exact time frame. Yes, we have districts that were on those lists. So make sure that you have submitted all of your collections. Make sure you submit your calendar collection. Make sure that all of your exceptions have been entered for the year for all calendars. Run the calendar report in your preview or review area, and make sure that the hours are showing correct for all of your calendars, so that when you take the hours on the calendar plus the 2 days worth of staff PD and parent teacher conference hours, that you are at least at the state minimum number of hours for that particular grade span. It's really important that you do have all of your calendars updated and that you have verified everything. Questions about calendars?
Why is that not linking?
Okay. Spring state assessment grades 3 to 8. This collection closes August 6th. Once you get the files from the assessment vendor, which I don't think they're out yet. I think it's maybe the 25th. It may be tomorrow or it might be next week. I don't remember when those files will be out. As soon as you get those files, load them, clean up your missing assessment list. If you have students that you know did not take the assessment, go ahead and put in those records now with the correct score not reported reason. Career tech assessments. There was a change in the last release that we installed last Thursday that is only picking up current year
What?
GY records or web exam records. Previously, it was picking
Oh,
up
okay.
whatever was out there.
Yeah, I did.
You don't have to keep reporting or keep reporting or keep reporting. Once you have reported those records, then, and you verify they're loaded in Nodex, then you don't need to report those anymore. So state support is getting verification from ODE that there's no reason why the FY20 GUI records would still need to be reported, but several of you have that, wait a minute, there was a drop in my number of records and I have a red X now because there was a huge drop from what I submitted last time and what I'm submitting this time. And what happened? Did I do something wrong? No, you didn't do anything wrong. Part of it is a major timing issue is the fact that all of the FY20 records are gone. We won't get the web exam files until I believe July 9th at the earliest. So that caused for a huge drop. And so that's, it is okay to go ahead and submit with that red X. Yes,
Oh, this okay?
right. This year for the web exam assessment, students in grades 11 and 12 can also submit their courses with the final grade. And then even if they do take the web exam, all of that needs to be reported. And then ODE will take the highest of the scores. Spring end of course assessment. This one also closes August 6th. And load the assessment records once you get the files from the test vendor. Again, I don't believe this is available until the end of this week or next week. And then clean up your missing assessment list once you get the list. And the last time we talked about the different types of missing assessment records. And if any of you were in our assessment missing training, EMIS Alliance training, we spent a lot of time talking about the different types of record, the 3 types of messages on the missing assessments. You have the missing assessments enrollment, the missing assessments enrolled in vendor file, and missing assessments in vendor file. So they were enrolled within the window, or they were enrolled and they're in the vendor file that the vendor sent ODE, or they were in the vendor file that the vendor sent ODE, but in any of those cases, you don't have them in your records. OALPA. This one also closes August 6th. Any student that is indicated with an LEP status or EL, they have changed the name to English learner status other than in is required to take the OALPA. It is very important that whoever is over your English learner students, that they are verifying the statuses, because you have the L that is less than 120 days in US schools, an S that is they're in their 2nd year, a Y they're limited English, an M, their trial mainstream, all of those statuses. And you need to verify that those statuses are correct. And when the student moves from one status to another, a new FD record does need to be added when those statuses change. That's one of the things that it's in the manual, it's in the checklists, but sometimes, unless it is specifically stated, people don't think about updating those fields. Spring ELA. Now we're starting to get to a later close date. The preschool, the two preschool assessments, the ELA and the CAUSE, are both open until August 27th. The ELA is required on all resident preschool students, regardless of where they're educated. And that was a change a couple years ago. The resident district has to report the preschool assessment results. If any assessments were administered, they must be reported. And again, clean up your missing lists. Child outcome summary. That should be August 27th also, I believe, not the 17th. It is required on resident preschool students who exited preschool, regardless of where they're educated. And if the assessments were administered, you must report them. The other accountability assessment closes September 17th. The other accountability includes the SAT and the ACT, the AP, the International Baccalaureate, and the work keys. There are loads for the ACT and the SAT, and your district tells ODE which one that you're going to give to all students in grade 11. Based on what you have stated, then the missing list is made up of all students that are in grade 11 that did not take that assessment, whether it was ACT or SAT, in is either February or March. If they're in grade 11 and they did not take it, then you do need to report a score not reported reason why they did not take the assessment in the spring at the mandatory assessment time. There are loads for work keys. There are, I think there is a load for the AP. I don't think any of my districts do the International Baccalaureate, but make sure that all of those, if you have students who are in AP courses and they took the AP exams, make sure that those AP assessments are entered in. Are there any questions about any of the assessment collections before we go on to the next area? Okay, Annie has a question. Oh. Oops, I hit the wrong thing.
I don't want it to be under. Okay.
I do not know the time frame of when AP tests will be available. Okay.
I always, when it comes time to import, I always forget which assessment to select for, like, say, the third grade ELA or the end of course, because they change them and then I can never remember what it is. Yeah, if I can just write it down.
The question is, when I go to import my assessments, state support keeps changing the labels of what I have to select in order to import my assessments. What do I select in order to load my end of course and my state 3 to 8 assessments? It is OST, Ohio State Tests.
Okay, and that's for both of them.
That's for both the end of course and the 3 to 8.
We used to have something like OSCPA or something.
There used to be different codes for each type, and now it's the OST will do both the end of course and the 3 to 8. And I believe because it's the same vendor, they're both in the same file when they download them, or can be in the same file when they download them. So when you load that file for your district, you're not just loading your 3 to 8, but you're probably loading your end of course assessments also. So, I believe the OELPA still says OELPA. I don't know of others. Oh, let's see. I hadn't planned on.
Mary, we could send out that list.
Um,
It tells all of them.
there is a FY21 assessment checklist in the state support help. So in state support, if you go to the, or in student information, if you go to the question mark where the documentation is and go to procedural checklists and go underneath the EMIS section, there is a FY21 assessment checklist. The first few pages of that assessment checklist gives all of the assessment types that you can import, what option you need to choose to import it, and what the file layout needs to be, whether it needs to be a fixed width ASCII file, plain text, or a CSV. So that's a good suggestion, Annie. Those two, it's the second and third page of that assessment checklist. And whenever someone asks me, what type of file do I need for this? I go there and verify what is the type of file that we need to import, because it can change from year to year. So I, instead of trying to rely on my memory, which is fading, I'm not under any stress. No, not at all. I go there and I verify that. So that's a good reference for you to have. Okay, the next collection I'm going to talk about. There's a disclaimer. Right this second, it will not create anything for you, except for Crooksville and East Muskingum, because they're the two that I fixed. I did not have time to verify with Megan if you have the ability to do these changes, or if it's something that LACA has to do for you in order to be able to run this collection. But there are two tables that need setup. And I'm gonna see,
So, yeah, yesterday I was
Um,
going crazy trying to figure out, why can't we run this? Everybody else run this but me. So there's EMIS terms and then
Yeah.
there's EMIS grades. EMIS terms are there, but nothing on EMIS grades.
let me see, hadn't planned on going in and showing anything, but I will, go in here and show you. I was working on this on Tuesday, and I need to read the manual to see if this is strictly high school courses with credit, or if it is all buildings, all grades, because the only ones I have done is high school. But there are two tables. See if I can find them both. Okay. Management, school administration, scheduling administration, initialization. Reporting terms maintenance. This column right here, EMIS terms, there needs to be something in there. So
Which column was it, Mary?
the EMIS term. So what I've done on the others, and it's just so we can get data, because I'm not seeing a semester grade, I am just going to the final, and I am putting YE for the final. Now you could, and if you want to send all of this to ODE, you can. The quarter one, you can put as Q1, the quarter two, so on and so forth. Do each of your 9-week grades. When you do this, your number of records will, depending on what fields that you have that has codes beside them, the number of records that you will be submitting will grow exponentially. Because if you do a year grade, then there's only one record per course that a student is taking. The benefit is eventually this will be populating a database to where you could go out to ODEX and be able to pull down student records or look up student records. So if a student comes to you mid-year, you could go in and look up after you have enrolled them in your district and they're in ODEX, so you can see the information, then you can pull down or you can find transcript information. It's part of the grant that ODE got to monitor student progress toward graduation. If you have a semester grade, if you only have a semester average, I don't know that you would want to report the semester average. But if you have a semester grade, if you don't have a semester grade, is it being reported under final? I think it might be. So that's what you need to look at and determine how you want to have that reported.
So up there on where it says GP1,
Mhm.
and that's the first semester.
No, grading period 1 is your first 9 weeks.
Oh, do they need to put anything there or just?
That is up to whether you put something under GP1, GP2, GP3, GP4 is how much information do you want sent to ODE? Do you want every 9 weeks? Do you want semester grades? In addition to the final, or do you only want the final to go?
What's required? That's what I was gonna say, what is ODE?
I think if you ask them, they would say they want it all, but the discretion is up to the district. There is a chapter in the manual that talks about this. So this is the first part. And now I do not know if you have access to this screen. Sue, do you have access to modify this screen? Okay, so you guys can update these screens. The next screen, I don't know if you have access to. This isn't on student, this is for the building.
We just done it for high school.
Annie, can you verify what it's for? Is it for just students with high school credit or is it for every student? That is the part that I have not had a chance to research. So the second table is grade level code maintenance. No, it's not grade level. It's marks. Scratch what I just said. Mark type maintenance. And that is not right either. Marks. Yes, marks. In the mark screen, and this is another one, I do not know if you guys have access to maintain this. If you do not, then I will update these for you next week. So what we need to do then is go in here and make the EMIS grade on each of these marks. I have not had a conversation with Megan yet to know if this is something that can be modified or not. Okay, so this would not just be for your high school, but it could also be middle school because it is all courses marked as high school credit. For the 2 districts I have already done, I only did high school. I will go back and do the middle schools on those. But it will be next week before anything else gets done. Unless, Jackie's question was, is there a reason why the districts do not have the ability to update the marks screen, the marks maintenance themselves? That is something that LACA has locked down. Is there a reason why the districts cannot maintain that themselves?
I mean, is that part of like the building sign-off sheets or in that, they collect that and then like.
Yeah. Yes. It's just, these were new fields. And we didn't have the full ability to do everything until the last release, but the setup portion, I missed a few meetings where they probably talked about this setup could have been done. And so I did not have a chance to research any of it until Monday. So that's why LACA is delayed on getting information out to you as districts on how you can report the student course grade collection. So once these two tables are populated for all buildings that have courses that would be for high school credit, then run C-term EMIS in update mode, because C-term EMIS is what will populate this course grade file or student course grade file. Once the student course grade file is populated, when you transfer your staff course collection, that file will get transferred with the staff course collection. So you don't, it's not a separate transfer. It's not something that you have to do separately. The question is, so we want to resubmit the staff course collection after we do this. You don't necessarily have to submit the staff course if no changes were made to any of your staff course information. But that gets the file over to the data collector so that you can do the student course grade collection, which is a whole separate collection request from the staff course. So when you're looking at your list of collection requests, you have a collection request that says student course grade. The file that populates the student course grade is part of the staff course collection transfer from student information. So we will get, you can go out and update your terms. Where I showed in the reporting terms maintenance in the scheduling administration initialization area.
I feel like I'd be doing it without enough knowledge to know what to select.
The question is, I feel like I'm doing this without enough knowledge knowing what to select. I would read through the section in the manual that talks about this to find out exactly what information they're wanting. My understanding is you can submit as much as you want. If you only want to submit final, you can only do final. For this year, I would probably only do final at this point.
It is gonna be kind of like a trial and error.
Yes.
Do it as you go.
For this year, I would do final. Okay, will this roll up to next year? Am I going to have to go into next year and do all of this again? No. Once we get this done, we can request state support, run a script that will take what all of our districts have put in both of those tables for every district and copy those up to the 21-22 school year. So once we have everything in the 2021, then we can send a ticket to state support and say, can you please run the script to update the records in the 21-22? So it will save you having to recreate the wheel again. And then that's going to be incorporated as part of the rollover when Megan initializes the 22-23 school year. Then those course grades will go, those marked terms. The only thing would be if you only mark final now and you decide you want to submit other grading periods other than just final, then you may have to go in next year and update that. But once we have it set in the 2021, then we can request the script roll our data up to 21-22. Are there any questions about the student course grade collection? Section 4.8. Section 4.8 of the EMIS manual is the section that talks about the student course grade collection. Are there any questions in chat?
It's on page 6 where it talks about.
The alternate assessment was extended this year. So the alternate assessment doesn't close until September 17th. The alternate assessment is maintained in student information, the SIS student assessment under the OGT area because of the file layout for that file. It is not the same file layout as the regular end of course or 3 to 8 assessment layouts. Current graduation credit progress. As part of your student collection in the verify, update, transfer, there is a update course summary record. Do it every time. Update. Don't hesitate. Update. Okay. In the student collection verify update, there is a update course summary record. Now, once you update it, it puts your breadcrumb trail in a different place and it doesn't put you back to where you were. So you'll have to find your way back. But what it does, it goes out to all students in grades 9 through 11. And it looks at their course history for all courses marked as is high school credit. And it counts the earned credit based on the core subject area that is on the courses. Okay. ODE sent out a report and they're based on FY20 data, and they're going to send out another one based on FY21. But they're finding that people aren't paying attention to the subject area for credit values and being careful that everything is coded correctly, or marking a lot of things as elective that probably should be a specific subject area. And so then when ODE looks at the number of credits the students have earned, they don't have all of the credits in the areas that ODE says they should have. So there is a report under the Analytics Hub. I think it's under the EMIS area, but there is a report for course summary record. And I don't know if that particular report will run everyone or if it's still only for the seniors. But that needs to be verified to make sure that all of the subject areas are indicated correctly. The other piece to that too is College Credit Plus. Any course that is marked as College Credit Plus should also be marked as dual enrollment, and then it will show up on the College Credit Management screen, and the number of hours, college credit hours, that the student earned for that course needs to be entered for that student. That also shows up on that course summary record. Make sure that the student doesn't just have the 20 required credits, but has the 4 credits of English, 3 credits of math plus a credit of algebra 1 or algebra 2, whichever specific one it's supposed to be, a credit of life science, a credit of physical science, a credit of, make sure that they have the credits in the correct areas. ODE wants you to err on the side of mark everything subject specific and don't mark anything as elective unless it truly is elective. And then at the end of the day, when ODE looks at their credits, after they have the number of credits they need in that area, they'll drop the excess into elective. But they don't want you to do that work. They want the specific areas, and then they'll do that. That way there's less chance of students not getting correct credit for the credit that they got. Does that make sense? The update course summary record for graduates is also part of the graduate collection. And that particular update does only do grade 12. This particular update only does grades 9 through 11. And the graduate collection is open until October 15th. And I have my reminder, update the course summary, update the college credit hours from the college credit management record, and verify your cohort reports and your prep for success reports. You get messages whenever files come back from ODE, and when they come back, make sure that you're looking at the files that come back and that you are sending them to the proper people to look at those files. Now it might take some, they are working to try to add names to some of the files under the receive files area so that you don't have to do your VLOOKUPs and add names before you send them out to people. But until they do, you may have to do VLOOKUPs to add names to your reports before you send them out. But all of that stuff does need to be verified. We will be having a training on the grad reports somewhere around the end of September, probably. Are there any questions about any of the FY21 collection periods before I move on?
Does say that we can report
Okay, Annie said that according to the chapter in the manual, you can report courses that aren't for high school credit. But it's not required. Okay, fall initialization. When we do our rollover, depends on the vacation schedule of the person who is at state support does the rollover. And so this year we're doing it about the earliest we can, the night of June 30. Your school year will be rolled over so that July 1, the default school year, when you log into student information, will be 21-22. Whenever you're working on EMIS data, make sure you change your school year back to 2021. Once I get in on the first, one of my first projects is to work on the fall initialization. I ask that no one make any changes to the student profile in the 21-22 school year until I have the opportunity to get things done. In previous years, I have just not asked you guys really any questions how you wanted stuff done. I just did it. The only thing that was a little bit different district to district was the disadvantaged. If you rolled up your free reduced, I did not reset disadvantaged. If you didn't roll up free reduced, I reset your disadvantage. This year, I emailed you a fall initialization survey questionnaire. Fill it out. Send it to me. If I do not receive it by the 30th, when I come in on the 1st, if I do not have your fall initialization questionnaire, then I will answer the questions as I have for your district based on how the school year initialization form was filled out and the defaults I typically choose. One reason I decided to do it different this year, I had someone email me a couple weeks ago. When you do fall initialization, I want this particular status reset. It's like, yeah, am I going to remember that? Am I going to remember that I have that email there? So it's not a building by building, it is a district by district. So what you fill out will be how your district will be set. So again, if I do not have those when I come to work on July 1st, then I will base on what I've previously done. But if you have anything that you want different, or if you want something specific, make sure I get that questionnaire before 7:30 on July 1st.
So Mary, can you touch on each of these so that we understand? A couple of my understanding, yeah, but like the first, you are well in kindergarten. Just so we know exactly what.
It's like, I thought, oh, I wonder if I do this. No.
Okay.
Okay, the first one is set % of time for kindergarten students equivalent to max level of students calendar. So for the kindergarten calendar, if it is set as a full day level, then the % of time will be set to 100 for all of your kindergartners. If it's set to a 50% level, then they will be set to 50%. Set percent of time for first grade students equivalent to max absence of students' calendars. So if your first graders are set to the default calendar and they were 50% kindergarten last year, then it will change that 50% to 100 because the default calendar is a max absence of 100. Set EMIS disadvantaged statuses to asterisk. It will reset all disadvantaged status on the FD tab to asterisks, and then you will have to go back and indicate those that shouldn't be. There are varying philosophies on this. My philosophy is roll it up because anyone who is receiving any type of federal or state assistance is free reduced, and anyone who lives in a household. So if you have a foster family and the foster family has 5 children of their own and 3 foster kids, all 8 children are free lunch because the foster parents' children live in a house that receives subsidy, so therefore they benefit from that by getting free lunch. There is a grace that I think is a 30-day grace at the beginning of the year that if they were free or reduced last year, they can receive free lunch until they turn in their application. And at the end of 30 days, if they don't turn in their application, then their status changes. So based on those things, I think it is easier to roll up instead of having to remember, well, who should have had the 30-day grace and been marked disadvantaged? But every district has their own philosophy how they want to do that. The other issue, which I'm not going to spend a lot of time on, the one thing I am going to say, everyone was given free lunch last year. Everyone's given free lunch this year. Does that mean everyone is considered disadvantaged? No. That does not mean everyone should be marked as disadvantaged, because disadvantaged affects a whole lot of other things, not just free reduced. Everyone's given free lunch. So that means I don't have to send out the applications, or I don't have to find out income status to know if they would be economically disadvantaged or not. Wrong. Because that is just a very minor part. There are a lot of things, including your E-rate discounts, including some subsidies through your state foundation that are based on the disadvantaged statuses. So the disadvantaged status does need to be updated. I have been told, I don't remember who told me, and I don't know if that is 100% fact, that the application doesn't need to be done for FY21. There is a different type of questionnaire or sign off or something that needs to be, or FY22 that needs to be done for FY22.
They're meeting right now. They're talking about.
Okay.
Great. Their meeting's going on.
If there are changes and the formal application doesn't exist, you still need to have some kind of verification that the parents have to sign off on to indicate if they would qualify as economically disadvantaged. So these are the things that contribute to that particular The next one, set all limited English statuses to N. I would say no, because if they're a L, they aren't magically limited English proficient. Or English proficient. If they're an S, they aren't magically proficient. Will it help you fix issues that you haven't bothered to look at and take care of over the last couple of years? Well, that's someone else's problem in your district for not having looked at those kids that are marked as limited English proficient, because those students are required to take the OALPA and they need to be receiving services and they have membership codes that need to be reported on them. So resetting that one, I really don't agree with. Yes.
All this information, this was on the forms we did back in January.
No. None of this information was on the school year initialization forms. The school year initialization is how you want things set up. These particular questions are specific EMIS related that has to do with the FS, the FD, and the FN tabs of the student profile. Well, I just sent this out to you yesterday, and it's one per district. This form is one per district. Again, this is something I have always just done my defaults in the past, and the only thing different than what I think it should be set was your disadvantage based on how districts indicated if they wanted free reduced rolled up from last year to this year. That is the only thing that I ever used on the school year initialization. And that was really the only variance that I ever did in doing this. But this year I thought I would give you the opportunity to fill this out the way that your district wants it set. So the migrant statuses, you want to set all of your migrant statuses to no. Homeless status, we're going to start the year with no students marked as homeless. That's up to your district, how you want to handle it. If that gives you a better handle on who truly is homeless, instead of, well, we marked them homeless, but they've been homeless for 3 years because no one ever bothered to keep track of the statuses. Yeah, that's up to you. Set unaccompanied youth status to no. Same thing. Reset preschool poverty level for preschool students. Some of your preschool programs require a preschool poverty level. This might help you have a better handle of who your preschoolers are that are in those early childhood education programs and whether they qualify. So if you start with a blank slate each year, then that may allow you to keep a better handle on that.
So for those preschoolers then, that they do mark, is that something you have to collect every year? You know, the parents' income? I kind of assume.
I think so, because I think it's part of the grant. The question is, for those preschoolers that are in the ECE grant, is that something that has to be collected every year? And I believe it is, because that is a qualifier for the grant, is their income. And so if they don't meet the preschool poverty level, then they wouldn't be able to be in that early childhood education grant. So that one, I see merit of resetting. Set EMIS reporting calendars to default attendance calendars. If you have already set groups of students to a specific calendar for next year, I wouldn't do that, because then it would reset everyone back to your default. And now if you have not made any calendar changes in the 21-22 school year, and you want to make sure all of your kindergartners get set to a default calendar, your first graders get set to a default calendar if you have staggered start kindergarten, then yes, you might want to do that. But I see pros and cons on that particular one. And I think you have to recollect income every year as a condition of the grant.
Mary, don't we have to also have supporting documentation for like the homeless status and the unaccompanied youth every year? Or no?
Annie?
Oh, I didn't hear.
The question is, don't we have to have supporting documentation for homeless status and unaccompanied youth status every year?
No, I thought if it changed.
And Annie thought that if the status changed, then you would need that, but she does not believe that you have to have that. Annie's going to verify that one, but I believe the homeless and unaccompanied youth, it's their responsibility to notify you when their status changes, but I don't know that it's your responsibility to verify it every year.
And also, I talked with Megan, and she said on the marks, that is a security thing. But she said she will have those all done for the grade. Is that what she needs to change? The EMIS
Yes.
grade ruling?
Yes.
She'll have that done by tomorrow for all of your middle and high. If you have any high school credit in other buildings, let her know.
Okay, so Annie talked to Megan about the EMIS grade on the Mertz tab, and she is going to update that. It's locked down for security issues, and so she is going to update the EMIS grade on all of the middle and high schools that would have high school credit, and she will try to have that done by end of day tomorrow for all of your middle and high schools. If you have any buildings in your district that has courses that are for high school credit that is not a middle or a high school, contact Megan so that she knows to update those buildings also. And she will get those updated. And then the only other piece of that course grade is that you can go to the scheduling administration initialization reporting terms and indicate what terms or reporting terms that you want reported with grades to ODE. I'm sorry, I stumbled over my thoughts on that one.
And Lori did say yes to verify.
Okay. So, that will help out the, and thank you, Annie, for talking to Megan, because I did not have a chance yesterday to talk to her at all. So that is everything. Are there any other questions about the fall initialization questionnaire that I want you to complete and send to me? Again, it is one for the district, and this is separate from the school year initialization, because the school year initialization is a building by building, and it's everything but EMIS specific information. This is EMIS specific information, and it's at the district level. Yes.
Once you're done with all of that, you'll notify us that it's safe to go into FY22 and update the FSFE and FN.
Yes, when I run the fall initialization, when I get done, I will notify you that it is okay to go into the FY22, the 21-22 school year, and start updating student profile information. I will probably send an email per person because I will also have the list of students for you to verify, hey, these students didn't get updated because, or you need to verify these preschool students, or these students are in this year, but they're showing as withdrawn last year, those types of things. So it will probably be an individual email per district rather than one blanket to everyone, hey, you're done. But yes, I will notify you when I get done with that. Okay, next meeting. Wait a minute, I thought our meetings are usually the fourth Thursday of the month. This is the third Thursday of August. You're throwing me off. Yes, we have a redesign training scheduled for the fourth week of August for our next wave of districts that are going to the redesign. And so when we were scheduling it, I said, go ahead and schedule our training. I will move my EMIS coordinators meeting a week. Besides, either way, I'm going to hit someone's first day of school, whether I have it on the 19th or whether I have it on the following Thursday, I'm going to hit someone's first day of school. It's inevitable that it's not going to be convenient for someone. So,
Are keep doing Zoom then, do you think?
the question is, will I keep doing Zoom? I have a feeling that I will not be able to get away from not doing Zoom. So I think having the remote option is going to be a permanent part of our meetings from now on. But as many of you that can come and would like to come in person and see us, I would love to see you all face to face. We have 8 of you in here today, and it is so nice to actually see people. So I hope you will all eventually make your way from just joining via Zoom to actually attending in person. But I'm glad that you are on with us regardless. Does anyone have any other questions or anything they want me to go over that I haven't looked at so far?
Great, can I just tell everybody bye?
Bye, Michelle. We will miss you, but we wish you the best on your next venture. Today is Michelle Boffman's last meeting with us. She is taking a position with the East Central Ohio ESC to be a EMIS liaison to districts. Is that pretty much it?
That's it. I'll miss you guys. Thank you for everything.
Good luck, Michelle.
Thank you.
Do they have a replacement scheduled for you yet?
There is a board meeting this morning, and I think it's going to be Jean Ann, who I replaced, is going to cover to start.
Okay.
So, yep,
Michelle, we're gonna miss you.
I'm gonna miss you guys too.
We'll still have to have lunch.
Yes.
And as I told you, any of the EMIS Alliance trainings, you're welcome to come here rather than drive to Steubenville.
That
Sue
sounds
said
pretty good.
they all miss you too. They will miss you and would love to see you again.
All right. Thank you.
Were there any other questions? Yes, I will do a new contact list because we have Jen will have a new EMIS coordinator with East Muskingum. I don't know of anyone else that is changing positions, and I hope no one else leaves us. Well, Kelly stayed with us. She just relocated. So if there's nothing else, I am going
Hey,
to.
Mary, I have a question about a graduate student. This is Sean.
Okay.
We have a student who should have graduated last year, and he came back as a 23. But when he was attending, he was a Mount Vernon resident student attending Centerburg. So he should have graduated from Centerburg, but he chose to continue as a 23. So when he came back as a 23, he came to Mount Vernon and he attended at Mount Vernon, and now he's leaving this year. So I withdrew him back to Centerburg because that's where he completed all of his stuff to graduate. Well, they did not get him a diploma. So do I report him as a graduate from Mount
Yes.
Vernon?
Mount Vernon, because Mount Vernon is whoever issued the diploma is who would report the 99. The fact that you are educating him this year, even though he completed course requirements at Centerburg and chose to defer his diploma. Okay, the question is, a student should have completed last year or completed course requirements last year, but deferred their diploma and stayed on as 23, but they were a resident attending elsewhere. And instead of continuing as a 23 where they were attending, they came back to Mount Vernon and continued as a 23 at Mount Vernon. So the student is now going to receive their diploma. And so Mount Vernon withdrew the student to Centerburg, but Centerburg said, we don't have a diploma for him. So who should withdraw as a 99? I would say Mount Vernon, since Mount Vernon was the one educating the student when they left school, that Mount Vernon should issue the diploma and give them and withdraw him as a 99.
And then do we just use this year as a diploma date and graduate year and all that?
Yes, because they continued to be instructed this year.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to stop the recording.